Okay, I'm going to share with you a couple of my favorite techniques using spritz and shimmers. And my favorite thing about this new release is that Shimmerz came out with these cute little Shimmerz minis. And they're 1 ounce bottles, and they're just so adorable. I love them. They retail for $3.49 a piece. The way I store my Shimmerz is over here in this crate. And I like to take the stickers off the bottom of the spritz and put it on the top of the lid and store them over here like this so that I can just see what color that I want to grab, and it just makes it really easy for me. Okay, for this first technique, you're going to need either a piece of paper, cardboard, whatever you want to paint on and spritz on. I do this on paper or cardstock as well. I'm just going to demonstrate it on this cardboard. So you need some paint, any paintbrush, any old paintbrush. I'm using ultra thick embossing powder. You could probably use just some clear embossing powder if you don't have the ultra thick. And of course your heat gun, and of course you're going to want some spritz to play with. Okay, so just using the paint and your paintbrush, you're just going to get a lot of paint on your brush, and then you're just going to swipe on your board. Then quickly before that dries, you're going to sprinkle it with embossing powder. Tap that off on a sheet of paper. Then using your heat gun, you're going to heat that up and melt it. Okay, now that it's had time to melt and cool off, I'm ready to spritz. And if you haven't used spritz before, you'll notice when you first get it that the shimmer settles to the bottom, and you'll need to shake and roll. And rolling it up is really easy to do with these nice round bottles from Shimmerz. And so you're just going to shake up your bottles, roll your bottles, and then you can start to spritz right over. And I like to get really nasty with my stuff, so I don't, like I said before, I don't worry too much about my desktop and things because it'll clean up super easy. And just like to liberally coat my whole project because I love the sparkles. These colors blend so beautifully together. This whole vintage collection works really nice together. I just love it. So once you get that all spritzed, you're going to let that dry for just a little bit. Doesn't take very long at all. The fact that when I scrapbook, I make a mess. So you don't have to get this messy with spritz or Shimmerz, but that's just what I like to do. So I'm going to show you real quick how easy it wipes up. This is a dry paper towel, and I'm just going to use, you could use water. Plain water will take it right up. I just happen to have this little all-purpose cleaner right in front of me here. So I'm just going to wipe down my work surface real quick. See how easy that wipes right up? Super fast. Okay, so here is my little project, and the shimmer is already dry on here. So sparkly and pretty, and you'll notice that we're going to do something here with where we painted. So I have a real lightly damped paper towel, and I'm just going to take it and I'm going to wipe kind of over where I painted. You'll see it come off on the paper towel. Just going to smear that in there, and the more you rub and the more you smear into those cracks, the more distressed and the more vintage looking your project will look. And you can wipe and wipe, the color comes off, but the shimmer stays on. So that just brought that back through. And these colors, all of the products from Shimmerz are an iridescent substance, and so they're so easy to blend and mix together. So that's one little thing that I really like to do. Okay, now I'm going to Shimmerz up some of these little flowers, and I know this is a pretty basic way to use Shimmerz, but I'm going to show you how to just dress this flower up a little bit. And get your brush wet and then dip it into the shimmer pot. And just lightly paint it. Don't worry about getting all of it. And then Shimmerz dries super fast. And while that's drying, I'm going to show you another one of my favorite techniques. I like to dip the end of my paintbrush. Instead of using the brush end, I like to use the end of it to make perfect little dots, little shimmery dots on my layouts. Just dip it in and tap it onto your layout. You can make little swirls. You can make them big or small depending on the size of your paintbrush that you're using. Okay, so I'm going to add these flowers along my layout here, and while we make those dots, we let this dry, and you're just going to pinch it in the middle, and you're just going to scrunch it up like this. And it's going to curl and show some of the shimmers and some of the plain white. And then you can attach that wherever you want. And I'm going to show you how to make these vintage looking little flowers here next. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I make these really simple little vintage looking flowers. You need 4 little flower shapes, and you'll notice they're not punched out or there's not a pattern that I use. And the flower, when we get through with it, is going to look something similar to this. Every flower that you make is going to be a little bit different. So I've got 3 different sizes here. I just need to make 1 more. And as you can see, I'm just using a scrap of paper. You just kind of wiggle it around until you get kind of a flower scallop. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then you're going to lay these out. Shake and roll your spritz. And then you're going to get these a little bit moistened up, and they're going to puff up and start to turn sparkly. I like to pinch in the middle just to get them going. Pinch and squeeze each one in the middle. They're really simple to make. They're not difficult at all. And then I also like to use the end of a paintbrush to kind of roll the ends under while they're wet with spritz. It makes the paper easier to manage. This is a heavyweight paper that I'm working with. Lighter weight papers, of course, will roll easier for you. And when you get them pretty much how you want them, just doing this quickly for you, you grab a brad that I just had, and then you're going to connect them together, the smallest to the biggest. And usually I work with these a little bit more before I put them together, but since I'm doing this quickly for you, I'm going to spritz it more because it dries really quickly, so you want to keep it wet and sparkly. And then I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to dry it. Take away the heat, and then squeeze your flour. Dry it some more. Sometimes you want to come in here and roll the ends under while it's still a little moist. You can really manipulate that paper, and it's really sparkly. I hope you can see that. I think a double-sided paper is really cool too when you roll these ends, because you can see underneath as well. So just continue to roll and scrunch and roll and scrunch, and you finish with a flower that looks like this. Okay, so all I have to do to finish off this layout is I'm going to spritz with my very favorite spritz, which is called licorice. And I'm just going to spritz the edges of my little cardstock layout here, my cardboard layout. And like I said before, you'll be able to see this right here on my blog and on the Shimmerz blog. Okay, as you saw, I got really messy with my spritz. I spritzed them myself. And so I'm just going to show you how easy it is to wash off. So, and simply wash your hands. And it's as easy as that. There's no staining. It comes right off with simple soap and water.